Hello again. We have an extra section in Lesson 26 that will include a different sound. It isn't a short vowel sound and it isn't a long vowel sound. So that's why we're putting it in Writing Words 3, ready for you to explore 2 different ways of spelling it. And autumn and pour are your clue. We start by thinking about the word because. Because elephants can add using small elephants. That's why they are good at adding. We explored the word because in the spelling story, and there are our elephants. 3 of them if you add them up like the big elephant could. But we went on to think about the fact that after B and E, we had the word cause, k, or z, cause. And you can see that we have put 2 lines in the middle to show that it isn't a long vowel and it isn't a short vowel. It's a different vowel sound, and we usually write them with 2 letters. Cause. Now, you can write it as the last part of because, or we can go through the sounds. K, we'd need the letter C, or AU, and the Z at the end is written with an S and an E. Cause. That does make you stop and think. An S? Yup. Let's have a look at a few more words that have the same ending. How about pause? Not the ones on the dog we saw, but when you stop for a moment. P. We need the letter P, or will again be written AU, and that Z we can hear at the end, SE, pause. We also introduced applaud in a story because we knew this lesson was coming. Applaud. A, P, U, O, D. Applaud. When we write it, there is something else to think about. Our first sound, A, is followed in the next syllable that we say by the sound P. But we write 2 letter P's, one to tell us what sound to say, and one to make sure that the short vowel stays short. A, P. There's 2 of them. Lord. And that or in the last syllable is AU again. Applaud. And if you were applauding someone, you could also be joining in with the applause. Applause could be a spelling language whilst you get used to it, and it has the same ending as cause and pause. A-U-S-E. And of course we need a round of applause. Let's see what we've got next. Here we have used or somewhere in the middle of a word. But now we think about or at the beginning of a word. Autumn. Autumn. Or we know how to write that now. But there's another letter. Only we can't hear it. We just have to remember to write it. Or, A-U, and then and we add an N. Autumn. Now you can say autumn to remind yourself, but you might like to think about an autumnal view. When you look out and all the trees are changing colour. Autumnal autumnal view. Think about what would suit you best as a way of remembering that letter N at the end of autumn that we can't hear. Are you going to think about an autumnal day? I know I do. We have another word with or at the beginning. August, the month at the end of our summer holidays. August. Or is at the beginning and then G-A-S-T. When we write it, it's the name of a month, so we need a capital A before the letter U in or, then G-A-S-T, written with G-U-S-T, August. And there's the sun that we see a lot more of for lovely long sunny days. How about the word author? Or tends to be how we say it, so we need to put in an extra wee think. Or where my teeth are on my tongue, and then author, but we write it author. The two bits rhyme. Author. We tend to really shorten that last wee bit when we say it. And here we have a book. And I was really interested to see that the emoji that appears has got part of a letter that is heard quite often. It's called "Here's to the Crazy Ones." And it was written a long time ago by somebody called John Chapman. You might like to take a peek at what it says. You could ask somebody else to read it to you. So, August and author. We're going to go on to 2 more words, but one of them has a different ending. Let's find out. Sauce is our first word. S, or, s. And that second s is a soft C. So think about how you'd write it. S is S, or, A-U. And then the s we hear at the end, C-E. And it's the E at the end that tells us to say s when we see that letter C. Sauce. And the next one, pretty similar, saucer. And here's our different ending. Saucer. S, or, s, e, Sore and sir. Written C-E-R. Like the C-E in sauce. And now we have somebody who likes his sauce. His name is Paul. P-O-L. Capital P because it's a name. Or A-U and then L. And there's a bottle of his favourite sauce. And he likes to put some on a saucer so that he can dip his crisps in. And next we have haunt. H-O-N-T. Haunt. H-A-U-N and then T. And this particular person thought he'd like to dress up as a ghost to haunt people on Halloween. And he went and found himself an old sheet in the laundry pile. Let's write laundry first. Laundry. L-O-N and then D-R-E. Lawn. L-O-N. But the last part, we can hear dr, but that E sound is written with a Y. A letter we haven't introduced yet. Laundry. And this is how he ended up. So you can see he didn't just borrow a sheet, he's put a mask on it. And what did his sister say? It's your fault if Mum's cross. So let's have a go at fault. And then old, which isn't exactly how we say it. Because when we say it, it sounds like, oh, fault. So we think about this ghost from the laundry that haunts as a reminder that fault has AU in its spelling. And another reminder that's got nothing to do with the or sound, but the word ghost is haunted by that H that appears after the G. It isn't really haunted, but it's another way of remembering to put the H after the G. Let's see what we have next, because we're going to be thinking about or at the end of a word. How about we go on a jaunt? J, or, n, t. J will be J or AU. N is N and T is T. And a jaunt is a short trip somewhere, usually one that's fun. Paul is going to take a short jaunt to the end spelling. There he goes. And we have the word jaw. J, or. And your jaw is the bone right at the bottom of your face that moves when we eat and speak. And again, J is followed by an A, but this time AW, because or is at the end of the word jaw. J is J, or is AW. It's like writing a double V. Jaw. Let's take a look at a few more words that have or at the end of them. How about law? L is L or AW. And paw, like the dog's paw we saw at the introduction to the lesson. AW for or. Raw, when something isn't cooked. R is R or AW. And then saw. What was it we saw when we first started this part of the lesson? It was our sound circles. S is S, or is AW. Saw. It can also mean a tool that cuts through wood. We're now going to think about some longer words that have a consonant blend at the beginning. And the first one is claw. Or at the end of the word again. Claw. And we write CLAW. How about draw? will be D, will be R. And then AW. Floor. An imperfect object has a flaw. The consonant blend will be F, L, and AW. And the last one, going to say the word but then give you a spelling language so it makes sense having two consonants at the beginning. Gnaw. But we spell it gnaw. G-N-A-W. And we use it when we see a dog or a person gnawing away at a bone. We write it as G-N-A-W. Gnaw can be a spelling language if you like. But now we come to some rule breakers, which in this particular lesson we can call law breakers, because the or written with AW is not right at the end of the word. We are going to take a look at 6 words that are used fairly often. And the first one is lawn, a patch of grass in a garden. L, or, n, but it doesn't have an AU spelling. L is L, or is AW, and then an N. Lawn. Shawl. Sh is SH, or AW, and then an L, followed by dawn. So a similar pattern for each of our words. And we could put them into a short story. We stood on the lawn in a shawl to watch the dawn arise when the sun comes up in the morning. Okay, so we have a picture and we have a story that goes with it to remind us of these 3 words where or in the middle of the word is written AW. Let's take a look at the next few. And we are going to start with or. All we can hear is that sound. But when we write it, we add an E. Or A-W-E. And or is an emotion. And we mostly hear it in the word awesome. Your eyes go wide and your mouth perhaps opened, and in this emoji they have a hand over the mouth. Oh, wow! And the next one is an emotion, but not a pleasant one. Awful. That was awful. So we have or right at the beginning, full. Or, and then f, with my teeth on my bottom lip, Ooh. Now this isn't a one-syllable word, so there won't be a double L at the end. Or A-W and then full. F is F and then U and one L. Awful. That was awful. And we have another emoji to remind us that thinking about these as emotions helps us to group them together. 3 words where or at the beginning is spelt A-W. And the last one, awkward. Ward is how it's spelt, but we tend to say awkward. Or, and then in this word there was a k, orc, and then w, would be a spelling language, and then d. Awkward is how we say it, but we spell it orc, A-W and then a K. W is W, or is A-R, like the ward in a hospital. Orc, ward, awkward. A situation where you felt really uncomfortable. So all 3 are emotions, and that can be a way of helping you to remember them. And in awkward, we have an awk, ward. Maybe it's for people that feel awkward. You have worked very hard today on all of these spelling choices, especially when we end on words that change what we have learned. It's one of the reasons that the English language is so difficult to write. Thank you for joining me, and well done.